and welcome back. I'm Emily, and today we are going to make some mixed media prints. So I made these 3 papers in a video a long time ago that I was practicing using my brayer and scrapers. So I already did an embellishment video with the other ones. These were my 3 least favorite, so I wanted to play with them and maybe make some more layers. And I have to tell you, this, just like the creation of these, it took a weird turn. So I'm starting with my least favorite paper. So I figured out if I mess this one up, then this one's my least favorite. So on the paper is some yellow acrylic paint and some of Vicki Boutin's gold glaze. It is on top of watercolor paper. So it's a pretty sturdy paper. The glaze kind of acts almost as a sealant. It's really, really strong. So I'm wiping literally off black paint off of it, and it comes off because it is, I don't know what it is about this glaze, but it really, really lets you kind of remove stuff. That's also the good thing about watercolor paper, is that it really doesn't absorb as much. It just sits on the top. So I am using a Vicki Boutin stencil that I got on Amazon, and her stencil brushes. Okay, I love Vicki Boutin with all of my heart. I think she is an amazing human being, but her stencils are so hard to use. Not all of them, but this one, and there's a big flower that I love, but it's probably me. It's probably not her stencils. I just have the worst time doing them. I do them in like little circles and I pat it. And I mean, these look pretty good, but it is a struggle. And that little stencil brush, we constantly are fighting. So I love the big one though. And I should have just used the big one this whole time, but I wanted to kind of make sure I didn't get the other butterflies. So the first thing I did on it, and always clean your stencils off, especially these because they stain really quickly. So I'm going to let the black dry and I'm going to try something. Now this took a couple different paths, but I like how it turns out. So I really, really actually like how it turns out. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to sit there and paint each one of these. Let's use the brayer. So this does not work, but I love how the black on top of the stencil looks. So I try right away and it doesn't work. So I'm like, all right, what could I do that is better? So I'm showing you all of my fails today. I want you to see everything I did wrong to get my brain to come up with the ideas that I did like. So I'm going to I'm going to brayer this whole thing and I'm going to make like a print off of it. Now I'm using a silicone messy mat that I got off Amazon, and I think it's fine. I mean, I really would love a really good mat. I use this mat almost like a jelly print a lot of the times because I still haven't gotten a jelly print. So see how, okay, this is also on watercolor paper. You can just wipe off your wet paint. I mean, even if it's not wet. So I'm going to try to make a print. Now this one doesn't work as well, but I come up with a different way to do this that I like a little better. So I am going to show you what I didn't like about it here in a second. And I'm like, oh, great. It didn't work at all either. So I was like, all right, I need more paint. So I'm going to get the stencil with the black on it a little wet, just so it doesn't stain. And I'm going to use my mermaid paintbrush that I got off of Wish to add some more black paint. Now, is there probably a better way to do this? Probably. I mean, and then I did try to make a print off of this a different time, and it just looked really muddy and not great. That's why if I'd done this on a jelly print, it would have turned out a lot different, because jelly prints don't really hold the color in like a silicone mat does. I don't know why. I think it's because it's just not as squishy. But, I mean, they each have their own benefits. So, I've got this super, super black one. I decided to put the print down first so I can push really, really hard with my brayer. I'm making sure I don't move the paper at all. And wait till this comes up, because it is gorgeous. And I'm obsessed with it. And I'm not even going to cut it down to use on on Project Life cards. Look at that. I mean, Seriously. I'm going to use it on a layout. I love it. I'm going to try that method again because it wouldn't have been too hard to replicate. So I think I'm going to try like a 4th of July with that stars. So now I'm going back to that original picture because the black is fully dry and I really wanted to make sure it was dry. So when I put the layers on top, nothing would dissolve. So I did clean that brush, but I mean, it's black in a stencil brush, so it did come out a little bit of gray, but I was fine with that. So I'm using this super cute stencil from, I want to say it's Simple Stories or Echo Park. I'm not positive. I'll find out and put it down below if I can find it. It's like a bubble print, which I really love. I think it was for like a little kid bath themed, but I'm pretty sure it's Echo Park. Yeah, it's Echo Park. So I'm using this super, super white gesso from also Vicky Boutin. She had all of her stuff at Tuesday Morning like a year ago. So I just bought everything I could because, like I said, I'm obsessed with her. I think she's just marvelous. I love her cute little optimism. It makes me very happy and I love watching her. So I'm just going to play a little here and add some bubbles around these butterflies. And I mean, I like how this looks, but there's still a lot missing and I don't really know what. The whole idea of this is I wanted to play with layers, and I have all these tools and stencils and brushes that I never use. So I always think mixed media time is the best time to try those. It's really, really fun. So I'm liking how this is. I'm cool with it. I still don't love that background, which is just, I just can't, I don't know. It's not my favorite. So I have a little trick that I like to use when I'm using stencils and I'm going through a bunch of them. I do have a pack of baby wipes really close, but I like to just kind of layer like lasagna. So like I do a baby wipe and then I put my stencil and then I put another baby wipe on top of that and then I just kind of layer them. So they kind of, so here's that. I put the baby wipe and then the stencil and then I put another baby wipe on top. And that way they kind of stay wet so then I can go clean them in the sink when I'm done. So let's see what I'm going to do next here. Where did I go? And okay, so I think I'm going to do I let this dry? No. Here's when I try this flower one and it looks disgusting. It looks terrible. I'm just using silver acrylic paint. I don't think it was thick enough. It looks like so awful. I hate it immediately, but still continue to do it because I mean, I never know when to give up. So I hate it so much, but I still decide to add some up at the top. I do get out one of my baby wipes. So, okay, so I've layered that stencil. I hate this. I like super hate it. The only thing I liked about this picture were those circles and I've just ruined it. So I'm thinking, what can I do about this? I don't want to wipe all of it off because I don't think that white was all the way, the gesso was all the way dry. So I decide to, with the baby wipe, which baby wipes have kind of like an alcoholness to them. So they really get things off. I mean, I like to use baby wipes if I got like huge messes even that I don't, I mean, all my kids thankfully are all potty trained and we only use baby wipes to like bring with us when we need to wipe their hands off or when I do art things. So I blurred the silver. It looks better. Now I'm putting some black stars on top of that. I mean, that looks fine. I think I have to just use really hard stencils. I think those thin stencils in me just we don't work. So, I mean, it's fine. It looks really muddy. I don't love it, but I'm going to come back to it. So this is another piece of paper I have, and I don't know what to do with it. So I'm like, I'm going to put some splatters on. And I'm going to try to make this work. So it's the same stuff I used in that other paper, but I just did paint strokes of it. So I'm using Delusions ink spray that I'm just splattering. The blue one is from Recollections, which is a Michaels brand. I got those a couple years ago, and I don't think they don't do like any scrapbooking stuff anymore. I've ranted about this in previous videos about Michael's lack of scrapbooking stuff. So I'm just doing splatters. I mean, it's fine. I'm like, all right, well, this is working. Then I get out my Heidi Swap color shines and I just go nuts. Now, the next 5 minutes of this video, I mean, I left most of it in because I really wanted you to see the way I did this. this gets so cool. I fall madly in love with it, and I'm just layering spray inks. I'm using, okay, so that's like kind of the green. They unfortunately don't make these as well anymore. I mean, you have to like shake them for a long time. I mean, I'm not super shocked they stopped making them. This purple and me, I don't know. I like a darker, maybe purple or a lighter purple, but this purple was just not agreeing with me. But the cool thing about this, because it's on watercolor paper and I did those splatters first, they repelled against the glaze and like the watercolor paper. So it like makes all these spots, and then I start doing water in a spray bottle on it, and it just creates, I don't know, it just does stuff. So, I mean, I have been dying to try like alcohol inks on that, what is it called? Yuzu paper. Tim Holtz does it a lot. I mean, everybody's been playing with it. And I mean, that's just a hobby that, first of all, is an expensive hobby to do because that paper is crazy expensive. But I've been dying to try it. And I kind of feel like I kind of did it with just these spray inks and watercolor paper. So I think it's because that like gesso of the watercolor paper and the glaze made this layer. I don't know how it works. I don't understand the chemistry of what I've just created, but I love it. So the more you let it dry, the more it kind of absorbs and moves around. So I'm trying to use colors that kind of go together. I mean, that green, I needed the green though. I mean, it needed the green. I'm adding a little bit of gold in here. But the colors are just, oh, it's beautiful. Because this is watercolor paper though, it is going to take a little bit to soak. So you have to either be very patient or, like me, impatient and kind of play with things more. So I love how it looks about 18 times, but still continue to change it constantly. So, I mean, that's just kind of me. I never let things just stay. I keep playing with them until I mean, it takes a lot for me just to be like, this is done, I'm good. So I'm just using a paper towel to kind of get some of the excessive liquid. I mean, look at that middle of that picture. It is beautiful. I mean, you can see in some spots where that original paper is, but it's just made this great background because of that like sparkly, like it's like a rose gold. It's just, I love this. It's just beautiful, and it's getting very spacey and like outer space and very like cosmic. So I'm really liking it. I don't plan on cutting this one up either. I'm probably going to use this as a back part of one of my layers. But because it is watercolor paper, like it's thin still. Like it's just this, I mean, it's, oh, and then I really like what the paper towels do as well, but because it's liquid, it's going to absorb in a different way, and it's just really fun. And I mean, I challenge you guys to try this because it was really fun. Like, there's no really messing up. So, like, I've definitely over paper toweled this. Like, I took away all the swirls, but don't worry. Don't give up on me. Keep watching because it's still going to get even better. The end result of this one, and I do end up going back to that butterfly one and kind of playing the same way on that. The final results are gorgeous. So because I've got all of that excess liquid off, I can play again with the colors that are still on there. And I'm using my water. So if it was alcohol inks, you would use like rubbing alcohol. But because this is like really, it's watercolors pretty much in those inks, I'm just moving them around with water, which is nice, and it's splashy and it's breezy. And I sworded myself in the face at one point because I wasn't paying attention to where the hole was. So that was kind of fun. That would have hurt a little bit if it was the alcohol. So I'm going to keep playing with this. I know this is a really long video, but I really wanted to show how I got to my final results. So I really appreciate all of the great comments you guys have been putting on my page. A lot of questions. I've been getting a lot of video requests, and I'm trying to get through those. And I love this community. I love how supportive everybody is. I also really love this pink that I'm using right now. I think it is gorgeous. But Okay, so then I got a straw out and started using a straw, which moved things in like a really fun direction. I feel like I was trying all the techniques and seeing what worked and going from there. What are you all working on this weekend? It's National Scrapbooking Weekend. It's very exciting. This is always like one of my favorite weekends because everybody's super excited to create. Unfortunately, my husband got his second COVID shot yesterday and he is out. Like, he is definitely having a hard reaction to this. So, I mean, I had a pretty bad one with my second one, but he's having a way worse time. So, I mean, I'm watching the kids. I snuck away for this, and that's going to be about all of my fun free time. So I'll probably have to catch all the fun crops and videos later. But I hope you guys are having fun with it. I mean, it's fun to have a whole weekend that's all about your favorite thing to do. So I took up too much again. So I'm going to blow stuff around again. And I think I'm going to get the water out again. I mean, this took a long time. The layers were really important to me. So I wanted to make sure that I had a lot of fun elements underneath all the layers that I was putting down. So what am I doing next? Okay, so I've got more water out. This is more of that blue. I love this blue. It's that Recollections one. What am I talking about? But it's a great splash. I don't think it's not anything alcohol based. It's just a really fun blue. Have you guys used the sprays as sprays before? Just use them for splatters. I'm very curious to see how you guys do them because the sprays, I've never really used as sprays before. Like, it took a long time for me a lot of them are kind of clogged up. I've always been kind of scared of them because it's so final and they never really, like, whenever I've tried to do them on scrapbooking paper, it never like looks that great. Here is more of that teal, which now we're getting somewhere. It's starting to really look awesome. I love the splashes of orange on the side. The little tiny bit of that green is really popping. There's a little bit of purple. I'm going to use a little bit more of this gold. And I'm loving this. I mean, from what it started with to now, it's crazy. So I have a little bit of water and gesso on the side of my messy mat that I've mixed together. And I'm just doing some splatters. So I don't have any white paint right now, but I like using gesso as white paint. I feel like it stands a lot like taller. It doesn't like turn the colors of the paint that you put it with as much. So, like, I think sometimes when you use white paint, like, it'll absorb the color. Like, Gesso's came to the party. Like, it's like, I've got this. Like, I'm going to keep my color. Like, I'm in charge here. So, I'm adding a couple little sprays of that teal again. I really like it as, like, an undertone to kind of go with all of that dark navy. And I did get my hand dryer out, and this is where things really started working for me. Sometimes there was too much pulled in an area, and I was like, this is never going to dry. I'm going to be here all night, and if it doesn't dry, then I keep playing. I don't know if you noticed that. So I love how this is going. Sometimes when I use the gun, I use it too close and like a pool of water comes out. So I have to kind of go back in and mess around with things. But this is starting to really take shape, and I love how it is starting to look. And that blue just fixes every like problem. I love dark navy blue. I think that it is like the best color. That totally went in the wrong directions. You see how it like spurted the wrong way. I was a mess. It was like late last night. My husband was watching like the NFL draft, and I was so bored, and I was like, I'm gonna go paint something. So I love how this is turning out. The blue is really doing it for me. I think that it makes it so much like more in depth, and it gives it more of that like spacey feel. So I'm liking this. I'm excited to figure out a layout I'm gonna actually use this on. Maybe I'll come up with one and do a video after this with it. So I'm using a lot of my favorite color combinations on this. I love blues and pinks and like that tealy color together. What are your favorite color combinations to work with? I like to do a lot of like blues. I think because blue is my favorite color, and I like a turquoise. Oh my goodness, turquoise and like teal colors. I really like that. I love pinks and purples together. I'm trying to get more into like oranges. I mean, I like green. There's not really a lot of colors I don't like. My son, for like 2 years, his favorite color was brown because that's the color, he said, of T-Rexes. So that's why he liked brown so much. And I mean, I don't care for brown. Like, besides like fall and autumn, when do you use brown? I mean, Thanksgiving, you can use a lot of brown. But I mean, what other color combinations do you guys like? Because I need to try something different. And I feel like maybe I need to take a dive into the green world. Like maybe that would be fun. I only use reds a lot at like Christmas. Maybe I need to go like hang out in reds for a while. I mean, sometimes, I mean, I use it at Valentine's Day, I guess, too. But I don't like that, like, all of my color themes go to, like, holidays. I feel like I need to just use all the colors all the time. But I guess in my little head, like, I like jewel tones. I wear jewel tones because I've got, like, orange skin. I feel like half the time, so, like, jewel tones look the best with my skin tone. So maybe that's why I like to use them the best. Who knows? But I don't ever really use a lot of black unless it's, like, a outliney thing. So who knows? But I do love these purples and blues and teals. Like, it's just my favorite. Now I'm doing a bunch of splatters, and man alive, this looks awesome. I love that there's that little bit of orange underneath. I love that there's that little bit of green peeking through. And I mean, this is just like super awesome. Now here I'm using a baby wipe. I'm not using a paper towel. And I am just kind of doing little pats to kind of blend things in. With the paper towels, it just like absorbs all the color, and I didn't want that. I wanted something to kind of, if you ever use like a baby wipe technique, it's that same idea where I'm just kind of blending with the baby wipe because it's already wet and it doesn't really, it kind of removes a little bit, but nothing bad. So I'm doing some more white. There are lots and lots of layers of white. I loved it. So now I'm like, whoo, look at all this color on the outside. So I took that butterfly paper that I cannot decide what I want to do with to save my life, and I'm going to steal some of that color. So I wish I had done these dots in modeling paste, but I don't have any modeling paste. Does anybody? Okay, I saw you can make modeling paste with like baby powder or baking soda. I don't know. Has anybody tried to make their own modeling paste? Because there's lots of recipes for it, and I'm kind of scared to try them because I don't know what's going to happen. So if anybody has a recipe for modeling paste, I would love to try it. I think that it would be really, really fun. So I love how this is going. So of course I go nuts with the blue because I like to start with the dark colors and then kind of go up. I am super excited about this green because that's what I'm doing. And then I get out this orangey yellow, which I've never used before, so it was all jammed up. And I start playing, and I'm making sure that I move things around, and I start right off with my heat gun and a little bottle of water. I want to make sure the butterflies are still visible, but I'm trying to move the liquid around them to still make sure that the most color is not on the butterflies. I'm kind of doing it if like it was, what's that thing with the glitter in the stamping? I can't remember the word, but I'm sure everyone's screaming at me what the word is. But because it's just black paint, so it's not raised. It's not gonna have like the little grooves like the stamping technique does. But oh gosh, it's gonna drive me nuts. Hold on, I'm gonna go look it up. Okay, embossing powder. I figured it out. Looked it up. All right, so I feel like if I had used kind of an embossing powder on this, that would have looked really, really cool. I've tried to do stamping. It's just not. It's not for me. I can't like paint. You mess up the paint. You throw more paint on it, and you're good. Like I need to have a hobby that I can make lots of mistakes because my brain changes its mind so much. I have to make sure that I have the freedom to like play. So I'm patting a lot of the extra liquid off, and it pooled in some areas. I mean, it is watercolor paper, so it's not perfect, but I'm liking how this turned out. You can see the bubbles coming through still. You can still see the little stars. You can see the butterflies. I mean, it's crazy how much, if you let the paint dry, like how much will actually come off. Now, I mean, if I sat there and sprayed it with water long enough, it probably would reactivate. But I only wiped off the stuff that was wet, which was really, really important for this process. So I'm still going to keep playing. I am trying to keep things dry a little faster so that things that I really like are a little bit more permanent. So I feel like this needs more. I think that it looks like a little too bronzy for my taste, and I love this sparkly teal. I think that it really definitely adds a little extra layer to it. I definitely feel like a little bit of purple is still coming through, and I think it needs more dark blue. I think most of the dark blue kind of vanished. But that top middle spot is like my favorite spot of the whole thing. There are so many fun layers. At the end, I'll show you close-ups. Oh, there's the purple. I'll show you kind of more close-ups of what I did at the end. But the layers and layers and layers of color that just work together is just beautiful. Like, those are my favorite things. Like, when I look at something, I love looking really, really close up. That's one of the cool things about like really, really old paintings. Like, they would just put layers and layers and layers. So I put, of course, more wet white dots all over it with the gesso, and splattered it all over my face. It's all over my arms. I'm using this super dark purple to kind of add a little extra. I love how this looks. That bright pink up in that corner, I think, is beautiful. I love that little galaxy that's going on in the bottom right corner. Like, everything is working out except for that blob that I just made. So I'm back at it with my baby wipe again to kind of blend things without taking them away. So I'm definitely loving that this pink is just shining through. It needs something in that bottom left corner though. I think I put something in there because right now it's really bugging me. So I know that this was long, and anybody who has toughed this out with me, I mean, thank you. I am using a little bit of that white to add a little bit of a dimension that I feel like is missing a little bit. And I just love that. Like, if I could just paint a room with that, I would. So I am using my baby wipe as a tool, which I highly recommend, and some more white splatters. But when you look really close, you can see it looks like stars. Like, there's just so many layers to it. Oh, yeah, there. I put a little bit of that pink in that corner. And I love this. I love this so much, considering how much I hated this layout when I started with these butterflies and this paper. It's not that it's ugly. I don't want to say that it was ugly. I just didn't like it, and I never would have used it. So what am I going to do with this paper? I don't know. I know the other two I'm going to use for layouts. This one with the stars, I'm obsessed with, and I just don't know what I'm going to do with that last one yet. I'll keep you guys updated. I love the star one. This is probably one of my favorite things that I've done so far. Here is that first galaxy one. I mean, it's all dry now. Like, how gorgeous. And then here's some up closes of the butterfly. Lots of layers. Thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate it. It was so long, I know. But have a great day. If you didn't watch when I made those first ones, I will put that video down below. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up. See you real soon. Bye.